Hello students, by now you have done the Week 5 report Safety of Fission Part 1. So this is going to be your video for how to do the Week 5 report Safety of Fission Part 2. Make sure that you have done Part 1 first, or Part 2 is going to make no sense and be rather confusing. They're meant to go in order. Now once you get to Part 2, there's a Part 2 directions link as well as a rubric for how I grade it, located right here below the title. So if I click on Week 5 Report Safety of Fission Part 2 Directions PDF, that will open up in a new tab. This is going to walk through how you're going to organize your report. You are going to use the information that you did in Part 1, so make sure you don't lose that, and that's why you'll need that first. Basically what you're doing for Part 2 is organizing your findings. You're going to present it in a more organized way so that it makes sense to whoever you're addressing. Your report should be in your own voice, so you make sure not to copy too many quotes. It's okay to have quotes in there as long as you cite them, but the majority of your report, whether it's written or verbalized, should be in your own voice. Also, make sure to organize it so that it makes sense to you. It shouldn't jump around too much. People should know what you're writing, what you're researching, so that it has a flow and it makes sense to whoever's reading it or watching you as you speak. Your report should address the study questions that you posed, so be sure to include those. And then your report should also include the following additional information, which includes what is nuclear fission or nuclear technology, how the form of technology works, how we use nuclear fission and nuclear technology in our current day, what is predicted for the future in terms of nuclear fission and nuclear technology, and then is the technology considered safe or not currently. You may find that some of your questions are related to this information, and that's totally fine. You don't have to add more information to that if your questions already address it. But those are things that should be included somewhere in your report. And then lastly, your report should include an annotated works consulted list or works cited list. What that means is your references that you include, whether it's on a slide or at the end of your report, you should have those references listed, but to annotate means that you're going to include 1 to 2 sentences about each site, and you're going to want to tell us whether the site is good or bad and why, provide some background information, stuff like that. And you already did this in Part 1, so it shouldn't take any extra time for you to find that in order to finish your report. Now, the way you present this is entirely up to you. Students are more than welcome to type this in a Microsoft Word document, or use VoiceThread, or take a video of yourself presenting, or do a verbal PowerPoint. It is entirely up to you how you want to present your information, but you want to make sure that you include everything here. Now, if you go back into Blackboard, you'll notice there's the Week 5 report rubric for Part 1 and Part 2. If you click to open that, it'll break down how I grade both Part 1 and Part 2. So if I scroll down, you'll see Part 2 begins right here, and it'll tell you how many points go for what and what things I'm looking for. So if you have a question on what or how I'm grading it, feel free to reference this. When you're done with your report, please remember it is a final product. You are not allowed to revise this. So you want to submit your Part 2 of your report as a final draft. When you're ready, you click on this Week 5 Report Safety of Fission Part 2 title link, and that will bring you into the Dropbox. Once you're in the Dropbox, whether you have a web address for a voice thread or a YouTube video, you can place that here. Or if you have a PowerPoint or a typed Word document, you can use this Browse My Computer option. Find your project file, click on it, click Open. It'll attach it here for you. And then when you have that attached or that information pasted down here, you'll hit the blue Submit button, and that'll submit it to me for grading. Again, remember, it's a final product. You're not allowed to revise, so make sure that you're following the instructions as well as the rubric to know exactly what you need. Now, this is the last assignment for Week 5, unless you're doing the honors track. If you're doing the honors track, go ahead and do the Week 5 honors assignment. Otherwise, you can go ahead and move on to Week 6 if it's open. If Week 6 is not open, make sure to check the pace chart here so you know exactly when Week 6 will open for you so you can begin it right away.